This is 2 buffalo hides. You can see the pattern changes and it's well organized in the way it changes colors. This is the one Bottineau is wearing up in the picture.
I was born near Montreal in a little town called Saint-Julie. And my family is all from Trois-Rivières region and Saint-Ursule, if you know. And I moved to Madison, Wisconsin to study forest and wildlife ecology. But after a few years being there, I realized that it's a strange feeling that probably a lot of your ancestors have felt at some point when they immigrated here, that you feel you're getting deeper connections to the place where you live, but you also start missing home in some aspects of your life. And I feel a pretty deep connection with Quebec. So I was missing that. So I realized I need to do something to reconnect with Quebec a little bit. And I was playing music at that point, but I needed more. I also had a little small inheritance from my grandfather, and he was a builder in Saint-Ursule. He was the man who was fixing everything in town. I felt I have to do something meaningful with this money. I thought, wow, what a better idea than buying a fiddle. Stradivarius imitation. And I felt this is a perfect connection with my roots, and then also a connection with my grandfather, the wood, and that feeling of doing something with my hands. As you listen to our music, think of the Voyageurs singing songs, or don't think of the Voyageurs. To me, it's a nice connection to make. Think about who have settled here and how they came here, and that the music was very much part of their lives.
Well, I'm John DeRosier. I'm from northwestern Minnesota. A little story that I'm going to tell you about is I saw my father when he was about 8 years old, living on a farm. Brutally cold winters up there. They only had one vehicle. That was a 1.5-ton grain truck. When they wanted to go into town, everybody piled into the grain truck. They were on their way into Red Lake Falls, 20 below. Uncle Dan had to sneeze, so Uncle Dan, instead of sneezing all over everybody that were in the pickup truck, sneezed over the side and proceeded to blow his teeth out. So he decides to go up front and tell his brother that his teeth are gone. You know, he's saying, "Dent, my dent is gone." And his brother goes, "No problem, we'll get you another pair." But when they got to Red Lake Falls, comes to find out here that he had lost his teeth, and he said, "Oh, I thought you lost your gaunt, your gloves." So now you have no teeth, and we got to find them. They were on their way back, and proceeded to find the teeth stuck in the snowbank about underneath that.
And I grew up in a different kind of community, and nobody ever sang about us. Every time they wanted to sing with some dynamics, they told us a Voyageur song. I'm tired of that.
It's a sort of historic fatigue. I've discarded my turn in my battle. To something else I intend to proceed.
We've got bouilla, bouillon, boulette. When you go back to the root word, it's bouille, which means the boil. And so I thought, well, the way things were going here in this show and the investigation, we worked a lot in between programs and visit with people from around. And boy, did they make the ideas just boil in my head.
I'm in the home of Joseph Treflet Marié. He's in the town of Hugo, Minnesota.
My grandfather had bought the elevator here in, I think, 1923. This elevator was built in 1917 by Edmund Gregoire. He had a store across the street. Gregoire was quite an entrepreneur. Looking at the way this elevator was built, it appears to me that the mill that was on across the street was moved over here at the time that he built the tall part of the mill. And that was all built with 2x4s laid flat, like the old mills were built in those days. A tamarack from Corey's Swamp that they hauled over here, and he had set up a sawmill and built the elevator.
Most of the farms seem to have been small farms.
Most of them were small farms.
You also had this milk delivery route.
Yeah, my mother had 500 chickens, and we sold chickens and eggs.
What were the French Canadians around Hugo like? What do you remember about their social life?
New Year's was always the big celebration. Well, for example, on New Year's, my grandfather and grandmother were out to farm, and aunts and uncles were from the city, and they would come out and they would stay out to farm. My Aunt Mary would live with us where that grocery store was. We lived in that house next to it.
Mm-hmm, just across the street from the mill.
Yeah, they would all come out to our place, then they would go out to the farm. So we all go out there and party. Johnny had a fiddler, and they would sing. They were not all songs for Sunday school. I remember my Aunt Mary one time was singing. She was beautiful. She's always dressed to the nines. She had beautiful clothes, and she was singing one of these songs. See, and my cousin, we're sitting against the wall, and he was really didn't know what was going on because he didn't know any French, of course. And I'm translating him what Aunt Mary's singing. He was shocked.
It was, huh?
Well, they had a lot of songs like that. They were just laughing. My dad could sing from the time the party started until midnight or after, and he wouldn't have to use the same song.
Did anybody ever sing a tune while they worked, or were songs all just a part of parties only?
Oh, I had an uncle who would sing when he was milking. He'd sing all different songs. The only way I could stay with my grandmother is if I spoke French.
Chantez la chanson de Centerville.
Les grands Centerville, si je pense bien faire, les grands petits, vous tous vous rire. Quand on n'a pas l'argent pour le faire jour de là, il va à l'hôtel pour acheter au crédit. Ah, we got it that time.
You sure did. Boy, have we got some wonderful interviews. And so we'll put all that in a package and we'll have it for you.
My name is Darlene Garceau, and I was born and raised right here in Vadnais Heights, actually on property that my great-great-grandfather settled back in 1846. The land was, in this whole area, it was pretty much truck farmers back in the early years, and including my grandparents. My father was raised in this land that we're on here was all garden farm. I'm in my own home here, and I have lived here most of my life since I was 6 years old. And the first 6 years of my life, I lived right next door. My father built that house, and when I was about 6, he built this house. And this is the house next door. That there was no other houses. I mean, at this time, the gardening was done, and my father was building houses, and some lots were being set up here and sold to other people. But earlier years, this was all farmland. My father and his sister started a store up on Centerville Road, which Centerville Road intersects with Edgerton. Edgerton is in front of my house here, and at the corner, Centerville angles up, and the store is up on Centerville Road, next to where my father was born and raised in the old Garceau house up there. And this is a picture from 1942 of the corner there, Centerville Road in Edgerton. And when I lived next door, this is a picture of, in the backyard of this house, of me when I was, I think, about 5 or 6 years old. And we had a dog. Her name was Beauty, a female golden retriever. Beauty was just so gentle and was so smart. My mother would sometimes send her up to the store because it was just up the field. I was standing in the backyard of this house next door, and just across the field was the grocery store up on the hill there. So she would send Beauty up with a note in her mouth, and she'd call to the store and say, "Beauty's coming up," and my father would meet her at the back door of the store, and he'd fill whatever groceries my mother needed and fold up the bag and put it in her teeth and send her back home again. And home she'd come with the groceries, including eggs. My mother used to get a dozen eggs, and not one of them would be broken. So she was a pretty gentle dog, and just a beautiful, wonderful friend and companion.
I'm tired of being a pleasure. It's a sort of historic fatigue. I've discarded my took and my paddle. Something else I intend to proceed. I'll stop here, but tomorrow I'll tell you much how further we'll go.